Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the Pulpwood Queen, and I'm reporting back live from my little cabin in the woods here in East Texas called Murphy's Law. And I wanted Stephanie to see I have my little drummer boy with me
He's adorable.
This is from her Decorate Ornate shop. It's all handmade. I love it because while you guys have been getting ready, I've been practicing my bongos and my drums. Because when I was in high school, I wanted to play the drums, and my band instructor made me play the clarinet. And I thought, why can't I play that now? So I'm teaching myself. I don't even know what I'm doing. I just play music I like with great drum beats, and I try to follow it. And I'm going to try to get with my son-in-law's brother because he's a professional drummer, see if he can help me out. But that's the beginning of that. Everybody does what they have to do to get through this COVID time. But now we're with Pamela Fagan Hutchins, who's up in Montana. Look at her beautiful log home. And I'm going to introduce you now. Pamela, I want you to tell the world, people are listening on Facebook, and they're also going to be hearing it on our Kathy L. Murphy channel, all about you and your writing life. What is your story?
Well, hello, everybody, by the way. And I'm coming to you from the eastern face of the Bighorn Mountains near Sheridan, Wyoming. And I live in an off-the-grid cabin that we run as a lodge for 6 months out of the year. And it's solar powered, and we're up this road we affectionately call the goat path. So it's a great place to write because it's secluded. It really appeals to the introvert in me. I'm close to the adventures that I have to research to write the Patrick Flint books. And half the year our horses live up here with us, and half the year we give them a break and send them down to my parents' ranch at 3,500 feet where they're not as cold.
Oh my goodness. So tell us about this lodge again. You have people come and stay?
Yeah, for 6 months out of the year, we run. Well, this place was originally built to be a bed and breakfast. And in fact, there were 3 cabins on the property. One of them, 2 of them burned down in a fire 15 years ago, but the main lodge remained. And we bought it 5 years ago and run it during the warm months as a renter takes all. They get the entire space. So what we get is big groups that come, and it's really joyful. You get family reunions, 4 generations, and it's laughing and happy and visiting a place people are dying to be. And I thought I'd hate it because I'm a writer, and I'm a little weird, I'm a little introverted, and instead it just is infectious. I never dreamed that I would enjoy vicariously experiencing everyone else's vacation.
Isn't that amazing? Is it mostly families?
Mostly, yeah. We did have a group last week that was a group of hunters from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And this time of year when we get hunters is always interesting because, it's usually a big group of guys, and they bring home things that they're taking to their freezer that used to be Bambi, right? And so I have mixed feelings about it. This group was awesome. They filled our freezer. They cleaned the house better than any other group's done all summer. So, it also teaches you to kind of throw your preconceptions out the window and just enjoy people as they show up for you, and then write them into your books.
Wow. Now you have, your husband is involved in all that you do, and your father has been a big part of everything. And what made you want to start writing as a writer? Have you always written? Tell us about it. Always.
My third grade teacher here in Wyoming told my parents I'd be a novelist way back when. And in fact, I had the chance to take her to dinner with my husband and me on book tour a few years ago before she passed away. And that was very special. But I've always written. And when I first started publishing, it was romantic mystery, usually a single point of view female protagonist. And I've had a ball with that. I'm writing one of those right now. But then my father got cancer with a 3-month to live diagnosis. And writer's rights. So I put down the 2 books I was working on and thought, here's where I get to make Dad the protagonist. And so I literally sat down with him at a time in his life when He was a little confused about why we'd be talking about writing. He didn't think he had much time left. And I said, you're protagonist worthy. Let's talk about the kind of book you want to be in. And we agreed we'd set it back at a time that was very special to him, 1970s Wyoming, when we first lived up here, that it would be adventurous, that it would be a protagonist that had flaws, but ultimately wasn't a bad person. And that it would be family friendly in that there would be a loving couple, but sex would stay off the page. Yay! And that while there were bad things happening, we weren't going to get into the mind of a serial killer, because that's not the kind of book you wanted to be a part of. And so I said, well, basically, Dad, you're telling me you want me to write you as Joe Pickett. And if you've read CJ Box's Joe Pickett books before, he laughed and says, yes, I'm Dudley Do Right. And I said, okay, Dad, I gotcha. And then I wrote Like the Wind. And I took real stories from my family. I never intended these books to be published. And I took some real events that had happened, not contiguous with where the story was set, but borrowed a plot line from a murder that had happened 20 years ago here in Wyoming. And then just did my thing. And I finished. And my husband said, I think you're going to be surprised. I think other people are going to enjoy this too. I think you should let it out into the world. And about that time, we're at 3 months and Dad's still with us. In fact, he's doing a little better, even though his doctors are saying, just go eat good food and enjoy your last few months. And my dad, who is a physician, is saying, no, I'm going to beat this. So I'm going to muscle my way through this. I'm going to take charge of my treatment and I'm going to figure this out. He's a lot like Patrick Flint in these books. No mistake. Anyway, that's what he did. And so lo and behold, a year later, we had 3 books. And by this time he's getting into it because my husband was right. People started buying these books. And for the last 2 years, that's all I've done is write Patrick Flint. And the response has been so much fun because my dad has gotten to enjoy it with me. He's a doctor, so he helps me with the wilderness medicine and the regular medicine parts. He lived the 1970s hunting and adventuring in Wyoming. And he tells me when I can't have Coors beer in the story because it wasn't distributed in Wyoming in 1976 and things like that. And has been, he'll sit down with me and he'll say, I think Patrick would be motivated to do X or Y or Z. And I'm like, listen to you. So every now and then he wants people to think Patrick is a little more together and with it than he is. Patrick is the kind of guy that's super smart, but makes incredibly bad decisions. Just like somebody I know. All the bad things, all the dumb things Patrick does are ripped from real life. And so he's always saying, well, can we make him a little bit more studly? And like, no, I don't think so, Dad. I think he's going to stay just like he is. So I'm actually about to start writing number 7 now. And it's been amazing, a wonderful experience. My husband and I plot the stories together, and then Dad comes back and I'll leave a big hole that says, Dad, how do I kill somebody, or how do I hurt somebody in the wilderness, survivable surgery in a cave at 20 below? And he's like, okay, here we go. We wreck the snowmobile. We do this, and then you do this. And it's been fun. It's been super fun. And it's been now 2.5 years, and 3 months has turned into 2.5 years, and he's doing great.
It's a wonderful story. And I love stories that have a different take and perspective. I think you've definitely got a different take and perspective than most people writing books of your genre. And that's what we look for in our Public Queen reading thing. So but you do more than that too. You've got this program that you do, and is it a radio program or podcast, or what do you call it?
Well, it's Wine, Women, and Writing.
Yes.
And it's generally speaking, author choice, but generally speaking, it's a live stream video show that I render to a podcast. But I get some authors every now and then that are a little nervous about their faces appearing, in a social media stream on video. I had Sandra Brown on recently, and I think she's utterly lovely, and she didn't want to do the video. And then she got her courage up and did the video with someone a few weeks later. I'm like, oh, I would have died to have you on video. You're amazing. But we had a wonderful podcast, and I just talk with other authors about their books, and it's book clubby like this is. I read their books. We really talk about the books and what makes the characters tick. And I really enjoyed it. I did my 104th episode last week.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, I've had to learn all this new technology to keep the Pulpwood Queens going because none of us can meet. So
Right.
I've spent every night learning on YouTube about Zoom and everything. But I have to tell you, it's very intimidating for book club readers who do not, they call it the Facebook. And, they're always afraid that social media is going to steal their personal, whatever. And I go, I can't imagine anybody that would want to take anything of mine. Everything of mine is personal. It's not valuable. So we appreciate that all the authors are learning this because they're trying to survive out in the world too. So the more of us that come together that can all work together by doing this online book club, the more we can reach out. And actually our book club has grown the past 2 years because now with our online virtual weekend, anybody from anywhere in the world can jump on board, and they are. So we're going to have the biggest event we've ever had this year with our January event. And we're encouraging, even if you don't have a new book or aren't selected this year as an author, you should come, because we're going to put every author who is coming in the program that is now our Reading Nation magazine. So we just got it posted, and Mandy Haynes is adding the authors that are signing up to get them on the list of all the authors that are going to be there so that the book club readers will get there. I jumped here from listening to one of our authors was at the Pat Conroy with Jonathan Hote and Holland Perryman out in Beaufort. I think they were in Charleston, but I love it because I can go around the world watching all these book clubs where before we met in person. Is true. It's fun. And do you meet in person with any book clubs up there?
I had a couple of book events in the last few weeks because I had a new release, but this is not a heavily populated area. And
how far are you from Bozeman? Bozeman? Is that how you pronounce it?
4 or 5 hours. I'm about 2 hours from Billings, about 5.5 from Denver. The town I'm near, I live 7 miles from the nearest town, which has 500 people, but only a stone's throw down the mountain from me is Sheridan, which is 17,000, is considered a sizable town for Wyoming, but it's pretty small. And the ability to take it on the road, if you will, to do a normal book launch where you go around and do events. Normally from where I sit right now, I'd be going to Billings and Bozeman and Cody and Laramie and Jackson and, Rapid City and Cheyenne and Denver. Boom. And then not now. Now it's just, hey, there's a book club in town. You want to get together? Or a local bookstore in one of the surrounding towns. But we've got this, and I do these with book clubs. And I think that for me, it's been fun since I do live in a place with a low population density. This makes it more likely that I can do a book club with a group because
I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. Well, the reason why I mentioned Bozeman is because Jamie Ford, who's one of our authors and who was my co-host for 5 years, he has an all-male book club that meets in a bar. And I don't know about you, but that might be kind of fun to go to. I don't know.
I want to go to that one.
I know. You need to hook up with Jamie and find out if they're back meeting again. I found 2 all-male book clubs. One through A Mighty Blaze, which is Jana Bloom. And I said, I would love to interview, have our book club meet your all-guy book club. And it's funny, they all drink. They all drink. They either drink in a bar or they're I think the other one, they drink whiskey or bourbon or something, some kind of, special.
A lot of the women that I know, their book clubs, they drink wine. But I guess with the guys, it's going to be beer and bourbon.
Yep. But he's not that far away, so that'd be kind of fun. Maybe you could do a Zoom. I'll see if I can connect you because that would be a lot of fun, I think. And
it would be fun.
I've got everybody here tonight are authors. So I know they're going to have some burning questions for you about your writing process and style. So who wants to begin with any kind of question about how you juggle a lodge, that you've got people coming in and horses and riding. Anybody want to jump in and have a question for Pamela?
I'm going to answer one of those real quick, which is headphones, noise canceling headphones. Sarah.
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
It's interesting what you were talking about with your father. That's incredible.
It is.
You know, he's just going and become a part of books. My book, Pause, that's about to be released next week. I drew on a lot of personal experience and family stories that I didn't intend to be public either. It started as a journal when I was going through midlife, everything you can imagine. I call myself the hot queen, the hot flash queen of America for a while. Anyway, yeah, now that the book's coming out, I gave my sisters advance copies just to make sure they wouldn't freak out. And my parents are gone now, who are major players in the novel, but a little queasy about revealing, even though it's fictionalized, everybody's changed. Did you have any feelings like that at all?
You know, I did, not so much with the main characters, but because the main characters were my nuclear family. I'm in the book, my brother's in the book, my mom's in the book, it's us. The people in our lives became real people. And so I needed to, in fiction, I mean, the theory of tension is that you have to keep beating up on your protagonist or your protagonist from page one and don't let up until the end, right? And so everything, every interaction had to be about something that would push their buttons, that would make their lives harder. And that means I would take someone that in real life might be the beloved sister and have her doing dastardly things to make things difficult. I felt bad about the sister. I did have to have a few aunt and uncle conversations where it's like, you know, it looks like you, but it's not you, because you exist solely to push this book forward, which means you have to push their buttons. And they were really good sports about it, but I did pre-warn or advance warn.
That's good to hear.
I've had a lot of authors tell me that they had people go, "That's me, isn't it?" And the funniest one I ever heard was a guy thought he was being in Doug Marlette's book. He thought he was the one that was the person that he was talking about in the book, and that was gay. And he said, "I can't believe you put this in the book." And he goes, "This is about me, right?" And he goes, "Actually, no, it's really about my best friend, Pat Conroy." And we all know Pat Conroy's not gay, but it was the funniest story. But, you know, people get mad for either they think they're in the book and they got it wrong, or they get mad because they weren't in the book.
Right.
That happened? Have you ever had that happen?
I've had friends that know that I have based characters in other series on friends that are kind of like, but I'm a better friend. Why am I not the basis of a book? Am I not book worthy? And you know, I think everybody's got something in them that if you reimagine real life could become fiction worthy, but you just have so many characters and so many hours in the day, so many words you can type, and there's just not enough time to write everybody you know.
That's right. That's right. I know Stephanie writes nonfiction about her travels with Americans to Italy and beyond. And Stephanie, have you had anything like this happen where people were mad they weren't in the book?
No, not really. I mean, they're like a lot of people that go on my tours. They'll say, "Stephanie, what do we have to do to get in your book?" And I said, "Well, you really don't want to get in the book, because the ones that do get in the book are kind of hair-raising situations and escapades." Yep. And so it's always funny. But yeah, most people that that go, or that are on the tours, they want to be in the book, and I change their names to protect the guilty, I tell them.
Yeah, it says a lot because I'm in her book. So I'm, one of those. So anyway, it's fiction and nonfiction. If it's fiction, they always say that's lies, lies, lies. Well, of course, fiction is made up stories. But if you write, like me, a memoir, they'll say, you made that all up, didn't you? And I go, well, no, it's my memories. That's why it's a memoir. but you get it both ways, and it's really interesting. But your books are great. They're adventure. And I love, I've always been a big fan of Westerns because I grew up in Kansas, and in fact, I thought that was the only thing that would play on my grandparents' television was Westerns, like Wagon Train and High Chaparral and Bonanza. But, and then when their TVs would get hit by lightning, they just put another one on top. Did you ever see that? They don't do that anymore. I mean, the flat screens go in the trash and in comes a new one. But I've always liked more guy stories, is like Westerns. You tend to think that's why we've got Revis Wortham and a couple of his guy buddies that write these strong, but I like to read books from all perspectives. So having the take of you, a daughter with your father who's a physician, that's fascinating. It's, to me,
it's really fun to write it from, with the first 4 points of view. This last book, I added in a couple of more. And for me, that made it a lot of fun. It's really fast and easy to write a book when you're so interested in all the characters and when you're so interested in the adventures that are underlying solving the mystery. I love to snowmobile, to snowshoe, to dog sled, to horseback ride, to hike, to go hunting, although I'm not really enthusiastic about pulling the trigger. All of these things that are in the book, I go and research and do. The locations are ones that I go and scout. I do it in season so that I know what it smells like, what it tastes like on your tongue. If you pick up that berry and bite into it, I know what side of the tree, what the leaves look on this side of the tree, because I've been exactly where I'm going to write that scene. And for me, it's a ton of fun. And I get the biggest kick out of a few times when the rankings have really surged on Switchback, and it's men's adventure fiction, the child Pamela Fagan Hutchins and whoever else. And it's like, something here is different than the others. But women enjoy adventure too.
I do.
We're talking about that we like books written by guys that write it. So why shouldn't a woman write adventure as well? And
I agree totally. I absolutely love that you're doing that. And I wish they wouldn't box us in so much, I know when my book came out, they put it in the self-help section, which made me just die laughing on the floor because I've made more mistakes than anybody in their entire life. I thought, and I was next to Dr. Phil on the show. I just thought, this is ridiculous. But I do think that if we would just look at a good book is a good book, no matter where it's put on the shelf. I think all the Pulpwood Queen books should be bestsellers. I think all my Pulpwood Queen books should be movies. If I had all the money in the world, I would just take each one of them and make it into a movie. How cool would that be? I mean,
boy, wouldn't it be fun? A couple of my friends here locally have had their movies made into film or in the process, and it just looks like a ball. And on the other hand, the one time that I had a book that was optioned and a screenplay was created, I ended up hating that screenplay so much. I just wanted to slit my wrist. It was nothing like my book. So I guess there's two sides to it. You kind of give your characters away to someone who has a different vision for a different type of entertainment vehicle, but it would still be pretty darn super cool. I'm like you about this pigeonholing though, Kathy, and my pet peeve is the title women's fiction, because men automatically think, oh, that's a chick book. No, it's a story about a human. It's a human with real problems and real issues, just like a book with Patrick Flint on the cover is a book with characters that aren't all Patrick Flint. We have to write a real world with a diversity of characters. And anyway, it just makes me crazy.
It makes me crazy too, because it's just like, it's stereotyping too, because if you're a woman, you're a woman's fiction writer or a nonfiction writer. Or if you are a cowboy, your books are all Westerns. And it's not necessarily true at all. I think we just need to look at each book. And I think we tend to do that in almost every aspect of life. Once we figure out what box they fit in, we don't want people to get out. And I love it when people jump all over the page, children's book, nonfiction, fiction. I have an author I picked this year that's always written fiction, but she wrote a nonfiction book, and it's fantastic. And the research that it went into it is going to be phenomenal. But you just watch our books this year, when we're going to be announcing them later on as soon as we get everybody notified. I think it's going to be the most diverse picks we've ever had, and a lot of new authors, because it's time to bring in some fresh faces who really need the help. There's nobody helping first book authors right now, and that's what we've always been known for. And so, and authors that are not discovered in a big way. I read so many books this year that are great books, and they've written a lot of books, but in my part of the country, nobody's ever heard of them. And I think that's another great thing that our book club is doing. So by all of us working together, showing the diversity of all, okay, we've got Wendy. Wendy, tell them where you're from, Wendy.
Originally from Arizona, but I live in Mississippi now.
So we're all over. And Eileen, you're up in where?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. And you're going to be getting some weather, I hear, right?
Yeah, we got it. Yeah,
Oh, you got it?
It's here. Yeah, it's
Okay.
hanging around.
We're coast to coast, and we've been having a lot of authors jumping on board from out of the country. We had an author jump in from Japan for a couple of our meetings. It's fascinating to me that all the people that are coming in, and I'm just hoping that this is going to be the year. This is our 21st year. This is going to be the year that our name is going to be known, and it's because of all of you and your great books that you're writing. Now, Pamela, if you could have one thing happen in your writing and reading life that is a big dream for you, what would that be?
Well, I think that I love these Patrick Flint books a whole lot, and I would love to see this in film. I think this is a good if any of you have ever seen Heartland, it's a good family-friendly series based up in Southern Canada. And I think it's really in that vein, of entertainment that's exciting but family-friendly. But if that doesn't happen, then I guess I've already got what I dreamed of, which was I got to quit my day job, put my pajamas on, sit out on the deck and talk to my make-believe friends and write their stories. And right now, I'm working on another Patrick book. I've got a Katie Connell book, which is the first series I ever wrote, set in the Caribbean, and people have been asking for years, will you write another Katie? So I took a break and wrote another Katie. And then I've got a new series that's coming out that is a bridge between Patrick Flint and the Maggie Killian books. It's a contemporary Wyoming legal thriller. And it's set up here in the West with a female protagonist who's a former district attorney in Houston. And lo and behold, gets sucked into running a lodge with her husband in Wyoming, very much against her wishes. And where they end up, he's a veterinarian, and they end up with a plethora of animals in and out of their lives, as well as mysteries. And she ends up as well writing mysteries. This was at the suggestion of my agent, who said, hey, I'm going to pitch an idea to you. How about an attorney from Houston moves to Wyoming, runs a lodge with her veterinarian husband, and writes murder mysteries based on the cases that she has? And I'm like, wherever did you get that idea? I'm a lawyer from Houston. So anyway, after I got over the feeling of that being very narcissistic and changed her into somebody that I could write without feeling like I was looking in the mirror, it was a ball. I loved it. I had not written courtroom scenes since my first series. And so I had a great time, and that'll be coming out next year. Great. And the Patrick Flint people will be in it as well. They'll just be older than they were in the 1970s.
That's great, because our theme this year for our weekend is building bridges through reading, because that's what we're doing. We're building bridges because, they always say, don't ever burn a bridge. You never know. You might have to go back that way. But I do believe that the more we read, and we read globally, the more we understand, the more empathy we have, the more we are enlightened, the more educated we are. And just like Eileen Sanchez's book, she just donated 50 copies to this wonderful Pat Conroy literary endeavor, and tell a little bit about what you're doing, Eileen, with that, your book into school, into students' hands, which is amazing. And she wrote a nonfiction book.
A fiction.
I mean, fiction. I'm sorry, fiction. Freedom lessons.
Right there,
Right
behind
there.
me. Yeah.
Right behind you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the group that's at the Pat Conroy Center are working on diversity, inclusion, and in their schools, and just being open to each other. And that's what I hope that the lessons in my book are about. And I went to visit them in May, and I got a tour, and I just was very taken by them and by their message. So I hope that my book would be good for high school students, and it was a group that's reading lots of books on this topic. So it was I'm celebrating my anniversary, my second anniversary of the book, and I'm just trying to it's like having a party. Give some books to some people that they were thrilled to get them. It was very exciting to get that.
It was very generous. And ironically, today would have been the 77th birthday of Pat Conroy.
Yes.
So we're all celebrating that wonderful literary endeavor down in Beaufort, which is we partnered with, and we've got some really exciting things they're going to be doing at Girlfriend Weekend this year. With their 3 interns. They've had Holland Perryman. Now they've got 2 more interns that are coming on board of students working with the center that will be leading interviews. And I just watched the one with Holland Perryman interviewing Grady Hendricks, who's one of our authors. So all these different connections that are being made, it just thrills me when authors become friends and authors work with literary endeavors and different things. I cannot wait to read your new books, Pamela, because I really enjoy what you're doing. And I think the story of you and your dad, I think at some point in your life, you're going to have to write a book about me and my dad. You know,
I think that would be so much fun. And I want to do that, the nonfiction version. I did write a children's book about him that's in essence nonfiction, but it is picture book for kids that my daughter-in-law illustrated. It's called Poppy Needs a Puppy. And it was about his first anniversary of having cancer and doing well. And so they all decided that he would get a puppy so that he could continue to get plenty of hugs from family and from the animals in his life to help him get better. So that was fun. And it was fun to work with my daughter-in-law on the illustrations. She's a super amazing talent.
Is it a picture book? It's
a picture book.
You don't have it handy, do you, to show?
Eric, will you bring me a copy of Poppy Needs a Puppy?
We want to
My
see
husband
it.
is running. That's how, while he's doing that, I'll show you the beautiful cover of Switchback.
Yes.
And how lovely it is when you hold all 6 of them up together. Ta-da, that's what Dad has wrought, is inspiring stories.
That's
I have a writing question.
Sure.
Yes.
So you said that the books of Patrick are, it's all set in the area that you're in. So you go out, you bite into a little cherry or something, and you get to see which side of the tree the sun is hitting or whatever it is. How did you do that with the Caribbean stories?
I lived there for 10 years.
Oh,
is that how you met your husband?
It sure is. It sure is. And I owned the house those Caribbean books are based upon. In fact, my first writing endeavors were stories about the house. The people were incidental. I was so devastated to sell this house and move back to the States. And so I started a series that ultimately had humans in it. And the house itself that we owned in the Caribbean, my husband is from St. Croix in the US Virgin Islands, born there, raised there. And he, oh, thank you, love. And he walked into my house for the first time. It was a big house up in the rainforest. And he said, you've got a jumbie here. And I said, what am a hoochama? What's a jumbie? And it turned out that he was saying I had a spirit in the house. And it took me a while to come around to his way of thinking. But the weird things that would happen, I captured as little anecdotal stories over the years. And when I sat down to write, It was the house I wanted to write about. It was the house that stuck with me. So that's how
Wow.
I wrote about the Caribbean. I probably had 200 pages of anecdotal notes before I ever started the books of just quirky things that happen today living in the islands, man, you know, and
What's that name? The name of that book?
the first book in the series is called Saving Grace. It's the Katie Connell Caribbean Mysteries. And I'm writing the fourth one right now, kind of a 12th anniversary thing of the first
Now,
one coming out.
Is your
Can I-
book?
can I
Is your
just,
book? Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, this is just killing me. I lived in the Caribbean and taught scuba, and there was a joke where I lived. I wrote a novel based on that, and now I'm back in the, wilderness areas of Washington and writing stories that have those adventures. And I've been told I had a Hemingway complex because I had to do exactly what you do. I have to experience things and smell them. And so I am so looking forward to reading your novels. This is great.
We'll have to get in touch offline and talk about those,
Awesome.
those similarities. Here's the cover of Poppy Needs a Puppy. Let's see if we can see it in the
Aw.
horrible
It's
lighting that
cute.
is living in a
Is it?
solar powered house.
It's a picture book.
Yes. So you can
Ooh.
see.
Oh,
Can
that's
you-
beautiful.
Can you read it to us? Is it too long?
Sure. I sure
I
can.
would like
read
to hear it,
you.
wouldn't you?
Yes.
If I would be happy to. This is Poppy Needs a Puppy, and it's illustrated by Laylee Frazier. My daughter.
A family affair. I love
Yes.
it.
Back when Caitlin was little, her poppy gave her lots of hugs. He had brown hair and muscles. He smelled like licorice. He never got tired of throwing her in the air. And so we have a picture
Oh,
of him throwing her in the air. Now Poppy feels yucky sometimes. Her mommy and daddy tell her it's because he's sick. His hair is white. He has less muscles and he sleeps a lot. He goes to the doctor all the time, takes medicines, and eats all his vegetables. He never throws her in the air anymore, but he is still her Poppy and she loves him. Her parents tell her he needs lots of hugs to help make him better. Caitlin hugs him every time she sees him. So it's terrible that the light in here is.
oh, it's okay. Well, I'll have to get a copy.
And this is one of the other cool kind of friends and family affair things in this book. I have a friend that's a Grammy nominated musician, and she wrote an original song for this that I sang and recorded with her playing all the background that's available as a download when you buy the book. It's kind of cool.
Oh, that's neat.
It was fun. After her Poppy has been sick for what seems like a really long time, Caitlin has a birthday. She tells her mommy and daddy she needs a puppy. She always wanted one. She draws pictures of herself with dogs. She promises she's going to teach him tricks, feed him treats, and clean up after all his messes. So Caitlin drawing her dogs. Caitlin's mommy and daddy take her to the shelter to pick out a puppy. She looks at a lot of puppies, big ones, small ones, brown ones, polka dotted ones, loud ones, quiet ones, dogs with short hair, long hair, and curly hair. She wishes she could take all of them. She likes a curly-headed golden doodle best. So, dogs. Then she sees one with black and white hair, a curly tail like a pig, and a pink tummy. She thinks he is cute until he looks at her. Something is wrong with his eyes. What happened? She asks the shelter worker. She makes a sad face. His eyes got sick. His name is Petey. He's blind. Blind? He can't see. He runs into things. His eyes look scary. Caitlin thinks he looks like he's wearing a monster Halloween mask. Another little girl is hugging the golden doodle now and asking if she can keep him. Caitlin looks back at Petey. No one is hugging him. He looks sad. Hi, Petey, she says. His back end wiggles and she sees his stubby tail wag. Caitlin has an idea, a great idea. Whoops, I missed a picture. So that's Petey. If anybody knows Petey in real life, it's my Boston Terrier that's blind and has one eye. So Poppy and Petey are both real. I want Petey, she tells her mommy and daddy, and I want to give him to Poppy. Poppy needs a puppy. Bad idea, her mommy says with a big frowny face. But Petey can hug Poppy even when I'm not there. More hugs will help him get better. That's not how it works. Please, you said. Caitlin, pretty please with sugar on top. Her parents look at each other and she knows by their faces that the answer is yes. She jumps up and down and runs to Petey. You're coming with me. So here we go. Later that day, they go to Poppy's house. Petey walks outside with Caitlin's parents. Caitlin runs in the house to see her Gigi. Poppy needs a puppy, she says, to hug him when I'm not here. Gigi kisses Caitlin's cheek. Are you ready for birthday cake? I have a puppy for him right outside. Gigi stops. Really? Caitlin runs out as fast as she can and brings Petey inside. My, that's a funny looking dog, Gigi says. He used to be cute, Caitlin says, but then he got sick, like Poppy did. Petey can't see now. I can tell, but I'm not sure Poppy wants a puppy. Maybe, but Poppy needs a puppy. Caitlin hugs Petey and he wriggles into her. See, they're really good at hugs, and hugs make people feel better. Can't we just ask him? Gigi smiles. Of course we can ask. Just don't be sad if he says no. There's Petey. Caitlin runs down the hall with Petey. She knocks on Poppy's door. Poppy's voice says, come in. Caitlin opens the door. Poppy is lying on a mat. What are you doing? I'm meditating. What kind of medicine? Not medicine, meditating. It means I'm slowing down my brain so I can see what is happening inside me right now. She thinks that's weird. Like where you're sick? Yes, I can tell the good cells to push out the bad cells. Does it work? I think it helps. Poppy meditating.
Look at that.
My mommy and daddy said hugs help too. Poppy pulls her in for a tight squeeze. Hugs help more than anything. My hugs? Yours most of all. Just then, a black and white blur of fur wiggles through the door and tumbles into the room. Petey bumps into Poppy's ankle. Petey yelps. Poppy laughs. What's this? Petey, he's blind. He needs hugs for it, like you. Poppy squats down and pets Petey. Petey's bottom does the funny wriggle thing again. Hi there, Petey.
Oh.
Poppy, I was thinking. Yes? For my birthday, I want to give you hugs all the time, even when I'm not here. And how do you suppose you'll do that? Caitlin grins at him. She knows it shows the gap where her front teeth have just fallen out. The tooth fairy left her $1 for each. Now she has $2, but she can't bite into an apple. Poppy, you need a puppy, and Petey needs a poppy. Poppy's long, curly eyebrow hairs rise up his forehead. I'm not kidding you. My real life Petey just started wriggling and barking over there, and he's about to come see me because I keep saying his name so much. Poppy's long, curly eyebrow hairs rise up his forehead. Petey needs a poppy, huh? Caitlin nods. Yes. Caitlin holds her breath, waiting to see if Poppy will take her birthday gift. Who will take care of Petey if I can't? Poppy asks. He looks her in the eyes. I will, Poppy. Poppy nods. He'll be our dog then, yours and mine.
Oh.
Oops, I forgot the picture. Hold on.
Okay.
Poppy and Caitlin.
Oh.
And I think it's the last page. Poppy lifts Petey into his lap and tucks him under one arm. He pulls his other arm around Caitlin. He feels thin, but he's warm and he smells like licorice. I think now I have just the right amount of hugs, he says.
Oh, that's a great story.
So there you go. And it was really fun because it started with my 23-year-old daughter saying, Poppy needs a puppy, because he had this good cancer report and she went out and found him a dog. And so I just aged her back to her younger self and played with it. And it's just one of the fun things you get to do when you have a lot of creatives in the family, is kind of pull it all together and come up with something that is a great grandparent book for kids, you know, because we all get older, we have sicknesses in families, and we have to teach kids how to deal with it both compassionately and realistically at the same time. And so anyway, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, I love that you read this book to us because I started in the book business as a children's bookseller, and manager. So children's book are at the heart of everything. And they're harder to write than a book because every word has to be, condensed down to the finest essence, So
Right.
it's a wonderful story. And thank you for sharing it. And it's called Poppy Needs a Puppy.
Puppy.
Poppy Needs a Puppy. I've got to get me a copy for my grandson. He will love that story. So, because he's 2.5 and he's into picture books. So, anyway, any questions about the book or anything to do with that? Did you publish this yourself or did you go to a tradition?
That one I published myself because we wanted to get it out at the same time as the puppy arrived in Poppy's life. So now he's got a giant movie-sized poster of the cover in his bedroom, and the real life's dog name is named Moose. So the puppy that Poppy got's named
Moose. There now? Is he there?
He is down the mountain about 10 miles where my parents have a ranch.
Okay.
But he was with us this weekend. We took a road trip and Moose came along. He's the dog that, when you have a grandparent experience and you're much less strict than you are with your kids. Well, it's the same way when you get puppies when you're 73 years old and you have cancer. That dog does not follow the same rules of any other dog in his life. Sleeps in bed with them, goes everywhere. It's just a miracle he doesn't eat off the same plate. He's adorable.
What kind of dog is Moose?
Moose is a yellow lab.
Oh, I love labs.
Just absolutely wild. It's just terrible, but so cute.
And you have the other dog there at your house, and that's a Boston Terrier.
Yeah, Petey, come. We have Boston Terrier who is blind, and this summer had spinal surgery. He was paralyzed, but he's walking now. Come here, Petey. And I have an Alaskan Malamute who I'm teaching to dog sled. And then I've got a Belgian Malinois who's my protector dog. Are you gonna come here and let everybody see you?
I want to see. Oh,
oh, his breath is terrible. So you can see the wonky eye. He is not lovely. Shh, I didn't say that. But he is the sweetest thing. And he's also about 4 weeks after the surgery started walking again. And so now it's been 3 months and his back end scoots around a little bit when he tries to turn, but he's got great forward propulsion and a super attitude and was worth every cent of next year's vacation money that we spent on his surgery.
Well, God bless you, because you saw my little rescue cat jumping over me. I've been gone. This is figment of my imagination, because for the first 4 days I had the cat, I couldn't find it in the house, and we call it Figgy now. And it's just a little lover girl, but she's been missing me. So she was jumping all over me. And I saw a cat with you, Sarah. You've got a cat with you right now too, don't you?
Yes, this is my turtle cat, if I can get the screen on her. There you
are.
She was also a rescue cat.
Such a pretty face. And I see Stephanie with someone sweet.
Stephanie has her dog. Oh,
standard poodle.
Just
2.
Oh.
And they are wonderful. I love them.
Smart dogs.
You notice they have the same hairdo as their mom.
And then I have Tristan.
Oh,
It's kitty cat doggy night. Awesome. Well, I don't think everybody can bring in their horses. What have you got down there, Randy? Are you going to show us? Yep, she's going to show us. Hang on, everybody.
Let's see. Groucho.
Oh.
Does it have a mustache?
He does. He's very funny. Whoops, here we go. Let's try that again. Look at that.
Oh
Groucho.
my gosh.
Look at the
Like
mustache.
Charlie Chaplin.
I know. He's very
Gosh.
cute. So
So cute.
Oh, wonderful. Well, who knew we were going to have a pet sharing night? But that's, Mandy in our magazine does features on pets that write stories about their owners. So if you ever feel inspired, you guys, to write a story about through your animal's eyes, send it to Mandy Haynes at readingnationmagazine.com, because she's always looking for people to tell stories about their pets, because most authors have animals. Look at these beautiful animals here. And then I've got this crazy picture behind me of my bird lady.
I love it.
I do too. It
You
was,
like that really well.
well, it was by one of my fellow students at the University of Texas at Tyler. And I took her studio space and it was in there. And she goes, I go, what are you going to do with it? She goes, get rid of it. And I go, I want it. So I bought it from her. So anyway, I think it kind of fits my personality. It's kind of a peacock back here. So anyway, Pamela, keep us posted on these new books. How do we go? Do you have a website, or how will we get in touch with you? Share that now.
You can find everything you need to know about me at PamelaFaganHutchins.com or my Amazon author page, which you can access by pulling up any of my books there. And when you get to my webpage, you'll not only find new releases, I do large print, audio, hardcover, so ebook, whatever you want. You'll find something to suit your reading format fancy. Oh my goodness, we have an Alaskan Malamute. Let's see if we can, oh, there she is. There's my sled dog.
Oh,
Say hi, Sibley.
Wow,
She's
what a
11 months old.
Oh,
And by the way,
Mhm.
when sled dog training in the summer looks a lot like broken arms and legs, because I'm hooked to her. She's wearing a harness and she's got a bungee cord line called a gang line that attaches the two of us. And she gets to the end of that cord, and that elastic and that bungee hits, and my body just rockets forward. So we have decided that I need to switch to a bicycle because she runs way too fast for me. Anyway, that was Sibley. And so my website, I do have on my website the opportunity for those that want to follow my newsletter to get a starter library, a free Patrick Flint story, a Maggie Kellyan story, a few others. And then I write once every 2 or 3 months, whenever the spirit hits me, not very often.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for being here tonight. And she did all the posts last week. We kind of had to mix a few things up because of our author schedules. We've got Boo Walker this week. He was on last Tuesday night we were talking about his books. And then we switched him with you this week, and he's on our blog site, The Pulpwood Queen Presents, this week. But we get you all in there, and that's what we're trying to do, is figure out more ways to get you in front of as many readers as we possibly can. So thank you, Pamela. How would an author get to be featured on your show? What's the criteria?
On my website, there is a page for the podcast / videocast, and there's a click-through link there that talks about how to pitch a book and get on. I do only fiction. So for starters, it needs to be adult fiction. I tend to focus on mystery, thriller, suspense, because that's what my audience likes. Small wonder, right? That's what I write. And I do tend to feature female protagonists, whether written by men or women. And then it's just a matter of, right now I'm booked out through March. It's, if you have a book and you're wanting to try to get on concurrent with the release, you got to plan it ahead of time with me. And I'd only do 2 shows a month. So it's been a really fun ride. Like I said, I had Sandra Brown on last month. Marcia Mueller, one of my all-time favorite mystery writers, was on last month. I had Lisa Unger on last week.
I love her. She's one of our authors.
Yeah, she's super. So, it's books I like to read, and that I can look the camera in the eye and say, I give this 5 stars and I recommend this book, and try to activate my faithful to go out and try some new things.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you all for joining us. And just so you all know, this Saturday night is going to be our last this year show of the Book and Film Club. Because of the holidays, it's getting harder and harder to get people on board. And my co-host is an author, and he's getting ready for his book release. So we're watching About Time. Please check it out. It's a wonderful film with a time travel twist, and it is one of my favorite films. And we're going to be discussing it. And the link is up on our group pages. So if you want to join us for the last one of the season, we'll start back up after Girlfriend Weekend. So thank you for joining us, everybody. I'm so looking forward to us all getting together at our big convention coming up. And I'm still adding authors. I don't know if you've seen Kimberly Brock And let's see, who else did I add just recently? I'm trying to think. Well, they're up on our photo album page on my page, and I'll be adding some more. But we do have David Dotson, the executive director of the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, coming this year, and Adriana Trigiani's book club, and just so many of you are all going to be there. And once we get the program completely finished and everybody notified, we'll be contacting everybody about where you're going to be featured. So, and even if you're not going to be featured, you're going to want to come this year, because the we're going to have the Great Big Bowl of Hairball is back, and we're having a masquerade. Yes, we're going to have a masquerade where everybody's going to wear a mask. You know, COVID, you know, decorate it up. And then we'll have a big reveal for each author. And we're also going to have a sexy reading contest, which means you have to pick a short paragraph and you're going to have to read it as sexy as possible. And we're going to vote by a show of hands. So then you can become the Great Big Bowl of Hairball king and queen of the Masquerade Ball if you have the sexiest voice. And don't let that be intimidating, because I'm telling you, the people that you think would be are not, and the ones that you would never, you know, we go by the voice, just the voice. And it's pretty incredulous to see what some of these guys and girls do. So we're going to have happy hours. We're going to have storytelling time. We're going to have lots of ways to interact and network and show the world that it's all about the story. So thank you for joining me. And it's your story, Pamela. It's all of your stories and mine, and we're sharing them all together in the conversation. So thank you again. This will be live up on Zoom later tonight, and you can share it with the world. So bye, everybody in Facebook land. We love you. Read these books. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everybody.
Kathy.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Pamela. Really enjoyed it.